Man, I'm so excited to talk to you because there's so many things we could discuss, but you are a mentor to many. You are a counselor to a ton. You're my wife's boss currently. She's interning with you. And you're a local Roswell guy, which I love talking about local Roswell things. But
Right.
man, I think I want to kick it off with when you're a counselor by trade and you started at Grow. You started with Grow Counseling, and then you pivoted to Anchored Mind to start your own thing, and you kind of started your own business.
Yeah.
Walk me through what led you to want to actually go out and start your own thing. Was it kind of a breaking point thing, or was it just kind of, I always knew I wanted to run my own shop, and so that's what I'm doing?
More so the latter.
Okay.
Yeah, Grow was and is awesome. Yeah, I think there was always this drive, this ambition that I just couldn't ignore. Candidly, when you spend a lot of time, a lot of hours, a lot of years in the chair, as we call it, you kind of, some of us who are wired with ambition start to wonder, is this all there is?
Yeah.
Or is there more of an influence, more of an impact I could have? And I think a good therapist knows it's not about them. So when you start recognizing that there's a platform you could build and it's almost like there are these gems that get discovered in the room privately. How do I take some of this wisdom and some of these insights and connections that is just absolutely changing the trajectory of people's lives and replicate it and make it more public without, sharing people's stuff.
Right.
And so we'll get to it, I'm sure, in this conversation, but the vision was always, how do we make mental health more than just mental health? Because it is more than just counseling.
So what would that look like? So obviously you had conversation with Kristen, who's your wife, who's a dietitian.
And some conflict.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Not surprisingly.
There was some tension. Yeah.
And so y'all dreamed up this idea and you were like, let's mash these two big things together.
Well, kind of. I don't think I've ever told you this.
Yeah,
actually.
I don't think
so. So the OG story, this was my final project in undergrad. So 20 years ago, that's how old I am. There was a concept called U-Turn Fitness, turn your life around today. And it was this facility with a cafe, community center, gym, all kinds of different things that basically could help people become who they desire to be. And not to get womp womp, but it was inspired by my father who committed suicide. And I just thought, man, if my parents had better tools for their marriage, if my dad had better community and then outlets for his mental health, could he still be here? Could they still be married? Would they be in a healthier place? And so basically, my personal mission is if I can help prevent what happened in my family to other families, to other marriages, to other men, then that's my purpose.
So you started your business out of your pain.
Purpose from pain.
That's beautiful. So you had a kind of multi-tiered approach to accomplishing that dream because you started with just the current Anchored Mind model, which is mostly counseling with some dietitian components. And now you're pivoting to this big dream, which is more of what you were just explaining, sort of a three-pronged approach. So tell me more about how it went from where it is now to sort of the next bigger step.
Well, I'm going to pivot a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I feel led to be a little vulnerable here. I first had a lot of work to do. So as you may imagine, going through some of the trauma in my family and just some of the attachment wounds, as we call them, just relational influences, just the junk that comes as a natural consequence for growing up in a system that needed a lot of work and a lot of attention. I needed to face some of that myself. So that was my counseling journey. It was grieving loss of my father, understanding what trauma is, understanding what grief is, and making sure that I'm prepared as much as possible for healthy relationships, because honestly, I wasn't. And unfortunately, it took me experiencing some of those hardships to recognize, I better look in the mirror. There's some things that I carry that I didn't choose that I need to address. And so counseling was, just like most men, I didn't want to go. But best thing that ever happened to me, and I would not be married without it. I wouldn't have a family. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. So yeah, fast forward after my work, after going back to grad school, and then in the midst of that, meeting Kristen, who serendipitously is a dietitian, couldn't have planned that.
Wow.
And then, we're finding things out, like just as we're talking, as we're in relationship, as I'm going through grad school and learning all this stuff, we find out that 90% approximately of your serotonin, which is your happy chemical, is produced in your gut. So largely what I put into my body has a massive influence over how I feel, over my happiness.
90%.
And yeah, mind blowing, right?
That's nuts.
When you think serotonin, okay, happy chemical, we all think brain. Well, it's just another example, in my opinion, of how complex we are, how interconnected we are. And so that was really the start of, there's more here that needs to be offered to people. They need to know this, and they need to experience this, and they need more tools and resources. So the beta test after I transitioned out of Grow was to, like, one, can I survive on my own? Am I a good enough therapist? And then it was finding a space for Kristen and I to start a small practice. And that was kind of as far as I always dreamed about the big facility, but to be honest, I did not think it was going to be a reality anytime soon. And so, to end this little rant, the first year we learned a lot. We learned how to offer kind of a balance to our services. How does she provide nutrition consultation and testing? Who are going to be my clientele as I'm kind of settling into my own identity as a therapist without this larger group practice? And just slowly but surely, people around us that we were sharing the vision with were catching it, and we're wanting to be a part of it. One of them is your wife. And it was just super cool to watch, like, oh my gosh, this thing that has kind of been not a burden, like burdening on my heart kind of thing, but like there's a vision there, right? And for other people to catch on to it, it almost like reinforces the need to make it happen. And so, yeah, here we are.
I love that. Let's back up just a little bit because I want to address this particular. So Canton Street is about to get one of the most dynamic concepts that I've ever heard of on the street in Roswell locally, and that is this new anchored mind 3-pronged thing. Tell me high level what's going to go on in this new building, in this new facility, and what do you think is going to happen in the future with it?
Yeah, it's going to be a party.
It's gonna be a party. It's definitely going to be a party.
Yeah, this is the dream. This is what was in my head 20 years ago, and what Kristen and I have started to craft over the last few years is basically we believe that care, for better or worse, these days is fragmented. There are systems in place that don't necessarily set people up to get the whole person treated, and we're more than just brains. So counseling is great for, depending on your type of specialization, it's good for relationships, it's good for dealing with your emotions and your thoughts and your beliefs, but there are more to us, there's more to people, and it starts with the individual and goes out to communities. So we're creating a facility that offers counseling, nutrition, and fitness under one roof. So
cool.
You walk in, you see a cafe where you can go and work, you can hang out, you can grab some coffee, some healthy food. If you're there to see your therapist, you kind of head to the right. There's a whole separate section that's nice and private and chill. If you're there to get a workout in, you head to the left. What's that?
Privacy's key.
Privacy's key. Yeah, there's doors and everything. Separate entrances. You head to the left, and it's kind of the fitness wing, and so you can go to your group class, or kickboxing, yoga. Go to the back if you want to lift some weights and throw down, embrace your manhood.
I'll be there.
There's resistance training in the back. And then there's a whole room dedicated to recovery where you can spend some time in the sauna, maybe do some mindfulness, some prayer, head on to the cold plunge if you want to get some stimulation.
I love that.
And then shower off before you head back to work or head home.
Dude, that is the coolest, most unique concept. And so, like, would somebody sign up for a membership that encompasses all three of those things, or can I get 2 of the 3, or do I have to do all 3?
Yes.
Okay.
All the above.
All the above.
The goal is it's going to be a la carte. We're still nailing down the details, but if you wanted to really embrace our vision for holistic care, whole person care, counseling, nutrition, and fitness in some degree. So there are guys where I could totally see they don't have an individual therapist, but they're coming to one of our groups. They're part of our men's group. They want to get a workout in before or after. They want to get some food, feed their body, shower off, and then boom, they go. There's going to be ladies who sign up for yoga, guys too.
I'll probably be there.
It might do some recovery.
With
Yeah,
Kelley.
Me too. No shame.
No shame.
And really, it's any combination that you desire. Is we want to make it as flexible as possible, but we also want to incentivize some packages.
Love it.
Side note, we just have to be a little careful with the counseling side because there's some ethics and legal boundaries to operate within. But
Right. So at what point, let's pivot to counseling for a second. At
Okay.
what point should somebody actually finally just make the decision to go into counseling? Is there a specific place mentally that you get? Or what do you hear often from people when they finally make the plunge after years and years to go into counseling?
Yeah, I do often hear, I had in mind to reach out about 6 months ago, or it was a year ago, or I've just always known I needed to. It's funny you use the word.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I delayed it too. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think most of us want to go. I am seeing a shift though. There's definitely a cultural shift in embracing mental health. The stigma is definitely reducing. More and more men are seeing it like a performance coach. This is someone who's going to make me better at life in the sense of my relationships, or I want to work on my productivity, whether I have ADHD or I want to optimize the flow of my day, and I need a space to process that and get some tools and prepare and have a plan, or I just want accountability. And then there's kind of the classic issues of I'm really struggling with alcohol, porn. It's interrupting my relationships. There's a cost now that's too heavy than the reward. And then of course trauma is still on the front end of, from a society standpoint, really understanding its impact. But the way we were trained is most people have experienced it to some degree, and there's the lasting effect. Segue, use the word should. I'm sure anyone even watching this, immediately you can think of someone who should go to counseling. Oh, if they just saw a therapist, they'd be right as rain. And there's some shame in that in regards to, in my view, anyone can experience benefits from counseling because here's the big, in my opinion, the big reason to go, regardless of if you have some reason or not logically. How often do people get to slow down these days?
Not at all.
Yeah, we're going from one thing to one thing. And every single time, especially men, I ask, what does your rest look like? Oh, you mean my sleep? No. What does your awake rest look like? Your non-sleep rest. What is that? And they'll say, well, I usually listen to a podcast, or sorry if I'm convicting you.
I mean,
I'm kind of convicted even talking
yeah.
about it. I'm like, how often do I slow down? But usually it's some type of, I'm feeding myself something or I'm doing something. It's very left brain centric.
Yeah.
Because, and here's a big reason why most men don't go to counseling. Our right brain, which is designed to be very relational and experiential, it's often where we feel things, where we actually connect to ourselves, if you're of faith, to God, to other people. And we often avoid that because guess what? You don't control what happens in your right brain. And I think a lot of guys are afraid of that. They're afraid of not being in control.
What's your biggest counseling hot take? Is there a stigma that you're like, that's crazy? Or do you kind of like, I know you work mostly with men. Is there something particular with men that you're like, this is something I believe that most people don't?
You can keep your balls and still have your feelings.
Tell me more about that. What do you mean?
Just because you're connecting to how you feel or how someone else around you feels doesn't mean you lose your balls, your manhood in the process. You can still be a man, have your masculinity, whichever flavor you prefer, because there's all types of men. We know that now more than ever.
Yep.
So, okay, let's get clarity around your identity, and let's also understand objectively what helps relationships be better.
That's great. Last question. There's a lot of conversation around all these different personality tests. You've got Enneagram and Myers-Briggs and temperaments and all these different things. If you were talking to one person and they only had time for one personality test, which one should they do and why? Which one helps them understand themselves best and why?
I'm a little biased. I really love starting with the temperament assessment, which is not personality. It's the why underneath your personality. Think of it like personality is your tree. It's what we see. It's what evolves and grows. It's more fluid. The roots to your tree, you did not choose and you can't see. It's what informs the entire tree. So temperament identifies language, not to put people in boxes. I don't like doing that. But if we can identify some language that informs my innate needs, so as a human being, a complex, integrated human being, if there are things in me that I didn't choose that I need, shouldn't I know about them? That's a stewardship. I have literally a vehicle, a temple that I have to manage. And why am I tired, or why am I moody, or why are these check engine lights coming on and I don't know what they mean or where they're coming from? Well, it's because it's your physiology trying to tell you something. And temperament helps you get language around that. So whether you're extroverted and task-oriented, this natural leader, this grinder, this competitor, you still have needs. They don't like having needs, but they need loyalty. They need a sense of control. They need respect. And then you have the complete opposite person that's a lot more relational and introverted, which these two often partner, by the way.
That's interesting.
It's very interesting. And they're going to be a lot more sensitive. They're going to need a feeling of worth. They're still going to man, for example, but lack of stress, like these things are kryptonite to their physiology. And so I'm giving you a long-winded answer, but there are things in us that we don't choose that will never change, and we have to identify them and accept them and then work from there.
I love it. You're telling me that AI people are now, is it maybe because they're scared of personal interaction and they're scared to actually
based on the statistics we currently know about, more men will ask an AI chatbot mental health questions than women. What does that say?
Wow, that men really need counseling.
Men could benefit from counseling
Yeah.
if they chose to go, but I think it also, to me, highlights shame. Shame feeds on itself.
Interesting.
And men, we all deal with it. Am I enough? Do I measure up? Am I worthy? That's what drives a lot of us to answer that question, but it's an unanswerable question. It's rhetorical and it has us hiding. And in the hiding, we hide our shame, even though that's the very thing that connects all of us. And we've experienced that in men's groups.
Yes.
So, but before any guy is actually prompted or ready from whatever would do that, they're going to be in hiding, and they're going to hide based on their shame, and then they're going to investigate, why do I feel unworthy, inadequate, inferior?
So what's the problem with that? I mean, I get it, because I think there's something to be said about interpersonal relationship, but what is the ultimate problem with someone going to AI for counseling?
I don't, actually, interestingly enough, I don't like a black and white view on this. I think AI is a fantastic tool. I mean, think about it. It literally is a purveyor of endless amounts of information. The difference, though, is it will only go so far because I care if you live or die. AI does not.
Wow. That's pretty wild. Have there been instances where AI has
Told people to kill themselves?
Told people to kill themselves?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, you're dealing with some really heavy stuff. You probably should just end the pain.
That's unreal.
It's
dude.
logical, right? And that's also, my dad, when I know based on his letters that not to get too dark based on letters he left us, he was in a place where you could see in his logic and reason in the letter. My rationale is I have to end my life because this pain will never end.
Wow.
I'm going to come into someone else's story, maybe a younger version of my dad, which is my dream client, save my dad, which is, I don't mean to be selfish, but it's a passion, right? And to let him know, hey, what you're feeling, what if it's temporary? And what if you're considering a permanent solution to a temporary problem?
That's really good stuff.
And then so to see guys, whether they come into counseling and or engage in one of these men's groups, and there's all kinds of men's groups. It's not just mental health groups. There's great types. You lead a fantastic one, for example. But to be in community, to hear another man's story. There's a group I'm in that one man's story is every man's story. And just to be fully known and fully know each other, there's something magical about that.
Yeah, that's great.